Greetings, Macadine family and listening audience. I am Kamil Shabazz of Macadine University. As usual, not only am I hoping all is well with you and yours, your family, your finances, etc., but I am affirming that all is well with you. And today's subject, as illustrated on the title, is the science of goal setting. The science of goal setting. Now, all of our lives, we have been taught to set goals. Like, what is a goal? Are goals actually good to make? If you look at most major goals that people set, most of them don't get fulfilled. And there is a reason behind that principle that I'm going to go into. But first, I gotta put you up on game. The book of the hour, the Macadine, the Game Changer Part 1, Essential Knowledge for Boys and Men. A timely book that took me 6 years to write, where I had to dig deep and look myself, the man in the mirror, straight in the eye. And as Michael Jackson said, I had to tell him to change his ways. And if you want to change your ways, if you want to get to the core of your being and become that ultimate man that you were born to be, this is the book that'll help you with that journey. The Macadine, which is on Amazon, and that I'm going to be speaking out of tonight. So tonight's brief subject, I always get to the point, the science of goal setting. And I'm going to be coming out of the Macadine, chapter 13, entitled Livery. Livery, the life of the party. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Macadine teachings, the term livery is the name of your personal book, which I'm gonna explain as I read. But your library is your book that you write pertaining to everything about yourself, your goals, everything that you desire, etc. So I'm going to go into it. Livery, the life of the party. And it reads, if a man writes a book, let him set down only what he knows. I have enough guesses of my own. That's from Godey. And then the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 2 says, write in a book for yourself. Write in a book for yourself all the words that I have spoken to you. And that I is yourself, your superconscious mind. So let's get to the essence of the book. A livery, which is a Macadine word and creation, meaning the living book of the self, is a person's personal book that opens the door to internal dialogue of and with man's subconscious and superminds and brains. Your supermind is referred to as the superconscious mind. You have the subconscious, the conscious, the superconscious, and you also have the preconscious mind. Government issue books, the so-called educational books that's on the shelves at school that they give to us, and dead men's diaries. Dead men's diaries are what you call Bibles and Qurans and Bhagavad Gitas and the Book of Mormon. These are books that were written by men who are no longer alive, that people are still holding on to and quoting after being here for 4,000 and 5,000 years, that really has no relevance of what's going on today. You can't even go into the court of law and quote out of the Bible or the Quran, and it has any relevance because it's considered not relevant information or hearsay, because you can't call none of them people up to testify about what they wrote. So these books The educational and religious books are death blows to the brains and the minds of the human being. But a library is a book that contains statements, beginning for the most part with I ams. And by the way, I am is the two most powerful words of all words in existence. I am. That's why in your Bible, who is called God says, I am that I am. Because I am are the two most powerful words in any language. And if we utilize those words, we can bring into fruition whatever it is that we desire. So, a library is a book that contains statements beginning for the most part with I ams of self-praise, love, and exaltation. We have a chapter in this book called Praising Yourself. Because you praise, you don't know the power of praise. That P in praise represents power. And when you take the P off praise, you get the word raise, because when a man praises himself the correct way, he elevates himself into his highest power. So, a library is also a book in which desires and plans are vividly outlined in their accomplished state. Writing in one's library should take place numerous times every day, especially first thing in the morning and right before going to bed. I always keep a personal library. Always. I go through probably 30 notebooks a year writing my I am statements and triggering the growth and power that's within myself that we all have the power to bring about. So, writing in one's library should take place numerous times every day, especially first thing in the morning and right before going to bed. A library activates and unites one with his subconscious realm, your subconscious power, which is the ultimate power. Your subconscious mind is like the iceberg that you see out in the sea. Most of the ice is under the water, like most of our power is underneath our conscious mind, waiting for us to excavate it up and take it out and manifest it to the world. When one writes in their library in the aforementioned way, the super rules, the so-called laws of expectation, the laws of attraction, and the laws of correspondence simultaneously kick in. There are always some positive benefits from writing in one's own book. Said benefits differ from person to person, and regardless to who creates and consistently writes in the library, their own library that is, every writing in your book yields some positive reward on some level. Down the line, the library writer will find many, if not all, of their written desires formulating and or manifesting, sometimes almost immediately. A library is not a genie, though. It is a man's word times his works that truly makes manifestation and materialization. A library, which stands for living and life, is the opposite of a diary, which symbolizes to die and death. A library relates with the now, the alive, while a diary discusses past and dead events. You know, like women have their diaries that they write in at night. They talk about what happened with their lover. They talk about what happened at their job. That's dealing with the dead past. But a library that deals with I am statements is talking about the now, the here. And the present is the only power that we have, the power of now. So, a great example of the library principle is the following words written by martial artist and megastar Bruce Lee to himself, dated January 9th, 1970, stamped secret. This is what Bruce Lee said in his own personal library, his own book. He said, by 1980, I will be the best known Oriental star in the United States and will have secured $10 million. And in return, I will give the very best acting I could possibly give every single time I am in front of the camera, and I will give peace and harmony. Of course, Mr. Lee fulfilled each and every word and then some. A library also enlivens a person's dulled or deadened visionary powers, aka the third eye, that this society and its systems are designed to annihilate. As the old saying goes, where there is no vision, the people perish. When one visualizes the affirmations and goals within their library as already complete, it creates a conflict in the subconscious between what's being visualized and current reality and points him in the direction of the new, exciting vision. Motivation increases along with solutions to bring the goals and visions into existence. It's even more effective to include pictures and emotions to one's library as well. We're talking about your book, man, the power of yourself, the power that's overlooked deliberately, and the power that we are taught to go against and to ignore. But it's the power behind the universe itself, and that is the power of the mind. It all begins here, brothers. It all begins in the mind. And we have the most powerful computer in the universes. There's no alien life or nothing in the universe greater than you. Nowhere. You are the living Gog. And when I say Gog, I mean God over gods. So-called religious books, the books of so-and-so, whether it's the book of Muhammad, the book of Jesus, the book of Enoch, the book of Mormon, or whatever. For example, the ones that aren't outright lies are those authors' personal libraries. Those books came out of somebody else's imagination. It had nothing at all to do with any God besides their own imaginations or insanities. The statement that we quote by Jeremiah at the beginning of this chapter, writing in one's own book, is perhaps the most relevantly truthful statement in the entire fictitious book known as the Bible. Each man has the power to write and create his own history, and it is his responsibility to do exactly that, or others, as we see. The government, legislators, etc. will do your thinking for you if you don't do it for yourself. Because many of us don't realize that between 60 and 80,000 thoughts per day goes through the human brain, and those thoughts are the thoughts of others. So if you don't govern your own mind, somebody else will, and for the most part, somebody else is. Great men of renown, like Noble Drew Ali, with his library entitled Circle 7 Quran, and Mark Twain with his library entitled What is Man, united their minds with the pen to manifest the infinite facets of wisdom uniquely deposited in each human vessel. A library doesn't have to be written in an actual book, just as long as one is writing to himself on a daily basis. Write to yourself. And in addition to writing to yourself, talk to yourself. Like Earth, Wind, and Fire said, talking to yourself is fine. It makes you feel much better. Talk to yourself and make sure that your self-talk is all powerful and positive, and watch your life change for the permanent better. Partnered with proper and deep breathing, people don't realize that spirit only means breath. When you breathe properly and you write in your library, you cause the effect of creation. So it says, partnered with proper and deep breathing and medicinal drugs at times. Like I was talking about drugs, certain drugs like cannabis that's not poisoned with pesticides that you personally grow. And different forms of mushrooms taken at different times, along with your library, can help build you into an all-powerful machine as well. A library is a goal-oriented book of self, and we totally disagree with certain self-help experts that we refer to as pollutionaries. You know, you got revolutionaries, but we got those who we refer to as pollutionaries. These teachers who are out here in the name of giving light and giving knowledge, they're really out there polluting the minds of the people with false information. And one of those false informations is dealing with goal setting. So a library is a goal-oriented book, and we totally disagree with certain so-called self-help experts, pollutionaries, who teach their followers, not followers, followers, to make and time-bound their goals, which means they put a date and a time to their achievements. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Think and Grow Rich and The Magic of Believing and different self-help books of the past that are real popular in the self-help community, but they teach for you to write your goals down and to set a date for those goals to be completed. Check it out. Now, they teach the people to time bound their goals, date time their achievements, which from personal experimentation doesn't happen by the forecasted time, if at all, which oftentimes causes one to abandon the goal altogether. Now, I can speak for myself. When I was in prison and I did time in prison, and I used to write goals down saying that I would be out at a certain date and time, or I would do certain things at a certain date and time, and it wouldn't happen. And this is 80% of those who write down and time bound their goals. And as I was studying and growing in my knowledge of goal setting, I found out that there's a principle backing that reality, and it's referred to as the Stockdale paradox. The Stockdale paradox. Now, the Stockdale paradox was named after a prisoner of war, Admiral James Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war for 8 years, from 1965 to 1973 during the Vietnam War. And the Stockdale paradox was the result of people who was also prisoner of war with Stockdale, who were time bounding their goals of getting released or freed from being a prisoner of war. So they would write down their goals, and they would say each year, I'm going to be out by Thanksgiving. I'm going to be out by Christmas. I'm going to be out by Easter. And within 3 to 5 years, they would lose their minds or commit suicide because they were time bounding their goals. And when you time bound your goals, you're actually putting your goals in a cell. You're putting them in a jail cell, so to speak. And if you look at the word goal, which is Goal, and you look at the original spelling of jail, see, you think jail is really spelled Jail, but the original spelling of jail is Gaol, which is one letter different than goal. And when you time bound your goals, you are actually putting yourself and your goal in a jail cell. Like those brothers did when they were POWs. And what happened? They lost their minds. They actually died from both going crazy, losing their minds, and a broken heart, because they got disheartened by putting their goals and time bounding them and putting them in a jail cell. Let me move on. A goal, which means, if you look up the word goal, it means a boundary or limit, is actually a modern way of saying prophecy, which is a religious word for predict. After being missioned by his master, who has his own set of responsibilities to assist the goal, takes a certain life on its own. Now, goals are like the seeds that we see in all forms of life. The seeds of grapes, watermelons, tomatoes, cucumbers, etc., they take different times to germinate and yield life or fruit. In the animal world, the possum conceives and gives birth within just 14 days, as opposed to the elephant, who takes about 2 years to give birth. Likewise, different goals, for example, becoming president, marrying your ideal mate, etc., takes different roads and times to take fruition. One may take 5 years, while the other may take 20 years. When it comes to goals, the old adage, that day no man knows, is usually the case. So when it comes to goals, calmly revisit and reiterate your goals via your own personal library, and in time, they'll find themselves around people, events, situations, etc., leading to your library fulfillment. See, the power of a proper goal is the intention behind the goal. That's the power of your goal. When you time bound your goal, you are actually destroying the goal. You're putting a wrench in the goal, because like those seeds, certain goals take different times. But when you revisit your goal, you're actually watering it, and you're allowing it to take its own course without you interfering with it. You're just empowering it every day when you look at it and revisit it with the power of intentions. The most important thing a library writer can do when you write in your library, your own personal book every day, the most important thing you can do is express love for yourself. Tell yourself, I love myself. We have a tendency to tell everybody else in the world that you love them, but how many of us look in the mirror and tell ourselves every day that I love you? That you're beautiful, that you're wonderful, that you're incredible, that you're magnificent, that you're infinite. All the things that you are. You see, the trick of religion is that they take the power of your praise, the power of your intentions, and what they do is you give it to others. You deplete your personal power. And that's a crime against yourself and a crime against humanity. It should be uttered to oneself throughout the day. It's literally impossible to be a true and successful lover of others without first being a true and successful lover of oneself. A library, the book of self, your book, your personal book, is indeed the life of the party, your personal party. And with that being said, I'm hoping that this brief message was of assistance to you. And I'll be back on tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat station. Salute and peace. And once again, get your copy of this dynamic book, man. The Macadine, Essential Knowledge for Boys and Men. This is the book of the hour, man. This is the modern day, what you would call Quran, Bible, Bhagavad Gita, the Book of Mormon. But unlike them, we're not telling you to worship another God. We're telling you to look in the mirror and worship thyself, because to thyself is due the praise and the power. Peace.